So today what we're going to do is we'll be talking about probability distribution and frequency tables, which is really just, so a frequency table is really just talking about experimental probability, just a way of displaying it a little bit differently. So a frequency table will just tell us how often something happened. The only thing we have to do, like in this first example, is figure out the total number of times a survey was completed, or how many times an experiment happened. And so with the first one, I can add up all the different frequencies together, people of what type of music they preferred, add all those together, and I get a total of 40. So I know that for each one of these, again, with an experimental probability, I'm going to have what I want to happen, my favorable outcomes over my total. And so I know that my total is going to be 40 because there were 40 people that took this survey about their favorite music. And for the first question, I want to know how many what the probability is that someone liked rock music. So rock music, there were 10 people, so I can reduce that down to 1/4, which is 25%. The second is classical music, so in the same way, I know it's going to go over top of 40. There were 5 people that liked classical music, which reduces down to 1/8, which would give me 0.125 or 12.5%. For country music, there were 8 people out of the 40 that chose country music, which would reduce down to 1/5, and 1/5 would be 20%. With the second one, again, given a frequency table, I want to find the probability that someone flips exactly 2 heads. So let me do it in red. So these are all the examples of times that a person flips exactly 2 heads. Again, these are representing, so that's 3 heads, that's 2 heads and a tail, a head and 2 tails, and so on. And so again, if I have I flipped a head, head, tail 7 times, head, tail, head 6 times, and tail, head 2 times, I know that there was a total of 15 times that I flipped exactly 2 heads, so I would write it as 15. And the total here, if I add up all these, gives me 50, so I know that the total number of trials that I had was 50. So when I reduce that down, I get 3/10, which is 30%. To find exactly 2 tails, again, I can go through and do the same thing. I'm going to circle in blue all the times where I have exactly 2 tails, which would be these 3 occurrences. I can add those together, and that'll give me 20 times out of the 50. It reduces down to 2/5, and so that gives me 40%. With this last one, again, based on the frequency table, I can find probability of spinning a 4 on my next spin. My total for this one, when I add up all those numbers together, I end up getting 100. And so I know that out of the 100 trials, I spun a 4 18 times. And so that reduces down to 9/50. And as a percentage, that would be 18%. Flip over to the back of the notes. Again, a probability distribution is going to be the probability of each result in our frequency table. So what we can do is we can make a frequency table and then find the probability of each thing happening. So in here we have a competition between 50 archers. And we want to talk about the number of bullseyes that each get. So we have the number of bullseyes, which goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then with the number of archers that hit each of those. And then the last line I can have of my table is going to be the probability, or the frequency that we have. So with 0, There were 3 archers that hit 0. There were 5 archers that hit 1. 7 that hit 2. 7 that hit 3. 11 that hit 4. 10 that hit 5. And then 7 that hit 6 bullseyes. So again, I know that I've got 50 archers here. And so what I can do is I can write these. So I got 3 over 50. I've got 5 over 50. 7 over 50. 7 over 50. 11 over 50. And then 10 over 50 and 7 over 50. Whoopsie. And so for each of the percentages, I've got 6%, 10%, 14%, 14%, 22%, 20%, and 14%. So that's a probability distribution with a frequency table. And then with the last one, again, I've got kind of a similar setup. I've got math scores here. And so I'm going to go with the test score. Oopsie. Again, I can rank those A, B, C, D, and F. And here I can put the number of students. And then last I can have my probability. Whoopsie. And so there were 10 students that got an A between 90 and 100, 12 that scored between an 80 and 89, 15 that got a C, and then 8 got a D and 2 got Fs. Again, it's important that we realize how many total students we have here, which we don't really know. It wasn't given to us, and so it's 47 total students. And so, again, my probability here, the frequency, 10 over 47, 12 over 47, 15 over 47, 8 over 47, and 2 over 47. And so I can go ahead and divide those and actually get the percentage of the classes that ranked as A, B, C, or D, or F. And I would get 21.3%, 25.5%, 31.9%, 17.0%, and then 4.3%. There you go.